All right, welcome in to a special edition of the Jordy Culotta Show as our guy Mikey Motzlick wrapped up a little bit early so we could feel his set, and welcome in one of our favorites of all time. If you have listened to me on this platform for the last 10 years, you know that this journey for me started in this profession covering LSU in 2010. That year, there was a freshman on that squad by the name of Tyrann Mathieu out of St. Augustine who I interviewed during training camp. He and I stood eye level. It felt like we weighed the same. And then against North Carolina, he was the best player on the field. In that season, he was the best freshman in college football. The next season, he was the best player in college football. And from there, I followed his career and followed him all the way up until his Super Bowl run with Kansas City. And now he is a free agent, one of the best safeties in the NFL. And now he's on set with us here on the Jordy Culotta Show. It is great to see you, my man, the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, in Baton Rouge, spending a little bit of time around LSU, and we got some time to catch up with him. First and foremost, it is great to see you. Congratulations on all your success, and thank you for stopping by, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. It's a blessing to be here.
What does it mean to come back to Baton Rouge? I told you Baton Rouge is a better city with you in it last night when we were going back and forth, and I know that you had a chance to come in and go to LSU. What's it like to come back here?
I mean, this is home, man. I think anybody that really knows me, they know, where my heart is, and so I'd probably say between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, that's home for me.
We will get to the free agent stuff coming up here, and I know it seems like every team in the league is after you, including New Orleans, and what it would be like to play at home for you. Take me back to LSU because, as a lot of people know around here, you were set to probably be the best player in college football for the second consecutive year, your junior year, and probably the Heisman Trophy leader going into the season. And you guys had a great team. That year for you obviously ended in August in training camp. You spoke so glowingly about that time. Now that you're so far removed from it, you got all the money. You're the best safety in the league. You've been to the Pro Bowls, won the Super Bowl. What was that? What does that year mean to you?
I'd probably say, if I can really define it, it probably was a shift for me. Even though it was a lot of things that happened that year that I consider, bad things, things that I probably, end up regretting. But I'd probably say just that whole year, man, like that was the beginning of the shift for me, just mentally, off the field. I felt like that year was a turning point.
Do you believe that you could be the player that you are now if you would have played that season? Is that too much of a what if?
Yeah. I think everybody's different.
Yeah.
I think for me, that was something that I needed to go through.
Uh-huh.
I needed that humility. I needed to be humbled. A lot of things happened fast for me.
Yeah.
It took off, man. I don't think I had time to even kind of prepare for who I was in that moment. You know what I mean? I never thought I would be that big of a deal.
The same week you got thrown off the team, you're on the cover of ESPN, the magazine, and Sports Illustrated as the cover article of the player going into that season. What was that conversation like with Miles that morning? When you walked into his office, did you know?
Yeah, I knew. First of all, anytime anybody calls you that early in the morning, it's bad.
Right.
But like that whole morning, man, it was dark. It was kind of cold.
Raining. It was
it was one of those mornings, and I remember walking into the room. It was probably like one light on, maybe two lights, so even the room was dark.
Uh-huh.
And I sat at one end of the table. Obviously, Coach Miles came in. He sat at the other end, and I think honestly we kind of sat there for a couple minutes, like knowing what was going on, but he didn't want to say it. Obviously, I wasn't necessarily ready to accept it. But yeah, man, that was a cold morning, if I remember. Yeah.
What was the Washington game like when you were standing on Victory Hill watching them walk down the hill to the?
That's crazy because I was talking to my fiance about that. It was like 2 weeks ago maybe, and I was asking her, did she remember when we were sitting in the stands?
Because ESPN found you in the pregame.
Yeah,
right.
And we were like in the stands, and at that point I was just trying to just be a part of it, like as much as I can. Like I had been obviously ousted. I couldn't do anything with the football team. So for me, I just wanted to just as much as I can be a part of it. You know what I mean? But that was probably like one of the the hardest things I had to sit through. You know what I
can
mean?
imagine.
And kind of just watch and take in. You know what I mean? I remember my fiance just leaning on my shoulder. I was just strengthless.
You could see it in your eyes, bro. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
it was a tough night to be an LSU fan, even though LSU won the game and Odell's down there making plays and the defenses. It just and then the TJ Yeldon screen route. I think everybody looks at and says, TM7 probably picks that and goes the other way. Yeah, absolutely.
I remember that play, man. Absolutely. That was a tough year for me, no doubt.
I bet. Then you get to Arizona, and you're drafted by Bruce Arians in Arizona, and Patrick Peterson is there, and fastly you become very well liked in that locker room, and I got to imagine it's because of your work ethic and your intelligence of the game. What was it like getting back into football as a pro? Did you have any doubt about yourself at that stage?
Nah, I had zero doubt.
Yeah.
My first practice, because I was a 20-year-old kid, you know what I mean? So I like to tell people, remind them that I was a cornerback before.
Yeah, that's right.
Before I was a safety. So
turn on the Florida film.
Yeah, I would like competing against Larry Fitzgerald like every day. Like that's when I learned how irons sharpen iron. You know what I mean? And I had always been surrounded around great players and great athletes, even going back to LSU, but it was different with him. Like he was a guy that done it, at the highest level consistently. So just having all those guys in the locker room, Calais Campbell, who's a Walter Payton Man of the Year, actually Larry Fitzgerald as well, and obviously Patrick Peterson, Carson Palmer, like having these dudes in the locker room, Gerard Powers, Rashad Johnson, both of those guys played in the SEC, All-Americans, team captains, just having that group of guys, group of men in the locker room waiting on me as a 20-year-old kid with all the things I had, overcame, that was like the perfect situation for me.
How close were y'all that year? It felt like if you don't go down against Philly, y'all are probably the favorite.
Yeah, I mean, we were extremely close. We were really a tight-knit group, you know what I mean? A lot of the things that, I do today, like as a leader, whether it be, inviting guys over to the house on Thursdays or, every Friday or Saturday, we'll have like an extra film session outside the coaches. All these things were like habits I created, when I was in Arizona, with Patrick Peterson and Larry Fitzgerald, and those guys really kind of gave me the blueprint.
Was there a moment that snapped for you? I remember being out at Pat Pete's tournament when you were a rookie, his golf tournament, and you were kind of still learning the lay of the land of being in the league. Was there a moment where you thought, man, this is how you're supposed to be a pro? This is what a professional is being.
Yeah, so, I like my rookie year, I tore my ACL towards the end of the season. My second year, I come back, and then I have a thumb injury. And then my third year, which I thought was probably one of my greatest seasons in the NFL, in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year, and then I tore my ACL again.
Against Philly.
And amongst all these things that, were bad, I still handled my business. I was still a team player. I never, became selfish. None of the things that I dealt with in the past started to creep back into my life. So for me, I started to understand that, I can deal with issues, I can deal with life, and I don't have to run to any particular outlet. It's just all about, being a man, standing up, and just taking it one day at a time, really.
I don't know if this is off base and you can tell me just to shut the fuck up, but have you ever been tempted by marijuana again?
Nah. And for me, I've been to like the rehabs and all that. For me, I don't think it was more so me being in my own head, and I think every experience I've ever had, I've always tried to kind of put them in one bucket, and whether it be the experience I had with my mother or my father, at the end of the day, it's a letdown and a disappointment. And I don't think every experience is meant to be that emotional, that powerful, like have that much control over you. So, and that was something I had to learn, you know what I mean? It's to take every experience as its own, you know what I mean? And not bring up past things that, I feel like, still hold me back today.
Absolutely. You were the captain on, I believe, 3 teams. The end of your Arizona, Houston, you were a captain. Then in Kansas City, you're a captain. What does it mean to be a captain at that level? And did you realize the first time you wore the C that, man, I am this type of leader. I am this guy.
I mean, I've always felt like, every team I've ever been a part of, I've always felt like I was the voice of it. I was kind of like the heartbeat of it. And, when you get to the NFL, if somebody, nominates you or votes you captain, like that's a big deal at that level, because, it's cool if you could just take your money and go home. That's what most guys do. They don't necessarily pour into the next person or pour into, their coaches or the scheme or just trying to get everybody to buy in. Like, you don't always, like, get that. So for every team I've ever been a part of, for every group of those guys to see me as somebody that comes to work not just for himself but for others, like that's the ultimate pat on the back.
My favorite year that you've had up to this point, you've had some great ones and we followed all of them, but was your year in Houston. I thought that was the year you bet on yourself. You walked into that locker room. Nobody really knew you. They had established leaders in that franchise, and you walked in and they voted you the captain, which I said, there it is, man. If you need to know about Tyrann Mathieu, that tells you everything. What did you learn in that season where it was kind of, hey, is he for real? Does he deserve all this money? Does he deserve to be in the class of the best safeties in the league? And you went in there and earned it.
Yeah, so I feel like that year really kind of helped me like understand who I was.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I had dealt with injuries in Arizona, and obviously anytime you get cut, you could be any kind of player. You can be the best of the player or the worst of the player. Anytime you get cut, it's like it's a reality check. It's a bad feeling. You don't feel like you can play. It's a hint. Fired. It's a hint. It's a hint. Like, you take a hit in confidence. You know what I mean? And so for me to go there. And 2 weeks in, I remember Bill O'Brien. He was like crazy about me because he just liked football dudes, and I was like the ultimate football guy.
Absolutely.
And he was just waiting for me to just be who I am, And I guess he had heard a lot of stories about who I was as a person, as a leader. And I remember 2 weeks into like my stay in Houston, and like he was just ready to give the keys to me. Like, this was my team. You know what I mean? So I just felt like that whole year kind of helped me understand that. Like, that's who I am. I'm a team captain. I'm a team leader, and nobody can really ever take that away from me.
Ever. I think it says enormous about your character. Then you get to KC, and you share a locker. You're across the locker room from Patrick Mahomes, right across. Yeah. And you're probably looking at the best quarterback and the best safety, best offensive player, best defensive player in the league for a couple of years. You guys won a Super Bowl together. What was it like playing in that city, playing with that quarterback? Playing for that franchise and everything you accomplished? I
mean, it was amazing. I really thought it was like what I needed at the moment too. And for me, it was the next challenge too. Like, when I went to KC, before I went there, they were like horrendous in defense.
Yeah, they were.
Like, dead
that was
last.
The problem. They couldn't get over the top.
They were like dead last. So for me to be able to take on that challenge, and understanding too that I'm gonna be the little brother on the team. Even though I'm gonna have to do the most work. Trying to get this defense turned around. But, like, those fans, they're, like, so into it.
They're like college fans, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, it's for real with them. And you got it, and I respect that. You know what I mean? And obviously they had won a long time, like 50 years without, like, a championship. You know what I mean? So
like Super Bowl one.
To be a part of that group that, really brought the championship back to Kansas City, and our owner, team founder, Lamar Hunt, like, that's his trophy.
Yeah.
So for us to be able to bring that trophy back to Kansas City 3 years in a row, like 2 years in a row, outside of Joe Burrow, because he got one too. But 2 years in a row, man, like, that was like, that's why you play the game, man.
How hard is it to repeat in the NFL? How hard is it to get back to that game? And when you get to the Super Bowl the second time, what did you learn? What'd you cut out that week that you may have learned the first time?
I mean, it's extremely hard, man. Like, complacency is a real thing, especially when you're talking about, guys who make millions of dollars, you know. And for the longest, like, that's the ultimate goal, right? Like, to win a Super Bowl. So if you win it, how many guys are going to come back the next year with that same hunger? Like, you got to really fight through that. Not just coaches, but team leaders as well. You know what I mean? You got to be conscious and aware of those things. You know what I mean? So I'd probably say, like, that's like the challenge, like getting everybody to buy back in, because once you win it one time, everybody gets paid, and then everybody think they know it all. You know what I mean? So that year there, I'd probably say, you know, after we won the Super Bowl in 19, you know, coming back and going again, you know, the next year, like that was one of the toughest things I've done, you know, like as a team leader, as a football player.
We'll get to Burrow, but is Brady the toughest that you've had to prepare for? I'd imagine you and him going back and forth in that Super Bowl gives me chills right now talking about it. Is that?
Yeah, and me and Brady, we like cool. Like
you can tell.
Like he is the ultimate competitor. Like, you know, in the brain. Like this has nothing to do with athletic ability. You know what I mean? Like when you're dealing with somebody that understands how you think, like it takes war to another level. You know what I mean? Like, and that's really like what he prepared you for. Like that's what he taught me in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like, cause when me and him were going back and forth, like he was clearly in control. You know what I mean? And then talking to him after the fact, like that was all part of
the mind game,
the plan.
Yeah.
And so even me, as competitive as I am, like as fierce as I am, like aware as I am, like he was able to kind of beat me. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And I'm usually the guy that's, you know, kind of setting the table and telling you how the day is going to go.
Yeah.
Like and to be on the other end of it with one of the greatest players of all time, like. That was like a learning experience.
What are y'all's conversations about? What do you and Tom Brady talk about?
I mean,
do y'all talk about competition all the time?
Yeah, that's all.
Is that all y'all talk about?
That's life, like, especially for him. Like that's life, man. Like being able to compete against the best, but also being able to kind of like set goals against yourself, right? Like set challenges against yourself that you're able to compete with in your brain, you know, and I'm just starting to work with his guy Alex Guerrero.
Wow.
Who's like
TB12 method, heads up.
Yeah, like,
Tyrann Mathieu's gonna be safety in the league till he's 50.
Yeah, so like I mean, but like it's a real thing with them. Like just the brain and cognitive thinking and seeing a play before it unfolds. Like all these things that I thought I already possessed. Like these guys have, you know, the resources to take it to the next level.
And you see that in Burrow?
It's cool, absolutely, 100%.
I saw you. I saw you lit the cornerback up on a deep route late in that AFC Championship game, kind of like telling you like I told you this was coming.
Yeah.
And you guys couldn't stop it. What was it like trying to defend him that day?
I mean, it was tough, man. First off, you know, I think that the league is built for those kind of players. It's built for the quarterback that can make all the throws. It's built for the receiver that can run, you know, all over the field, you know, and like those guys are like taking advantage of it. You know what I mean? Like, and then when you piece together, that's the athletics part of it. But like then you start to put the mental with it as well. I remember playing against Joe. This was like I don't know when we played them, like week 15, 16, something like that, later in the season.
Yeah, I think it was the final week of the year. Yeah.
In Cincinnati, you know, like he had ran a play 2 series earlier. And we would come to the sideline, and I'm like, that was our first time showing him that coverage. He almost threw an intercept. So, boom, he come back to the sideline, and then like 2 series after that is when he hit Jamar Chase down the sideline, wide open. Now, we were kind of in the same coverage. But for him to be able to understand where players are going to be and then to just throw the ball and deliver, like, he's going to be doing that for a long time.
Did Corey Raymond and those guys kind of tell you, like, he's everything that you think he is at LSU?
I always heard stories about it. Like, me and Clyde, our lockers are, like, directly, like, Pat, my locker was here, Pat Mahomes sits like to my left, and Clyde was like directly in front of me. So I would always hear stories about these dudes, like you know what I mean. And then me being a fan too, like of LSU, like just following those guys. Like I knew his mental makeup, but to be on the field with them and experience it like in real time, like it makes you appreciate it more.
You see Brady in him?
Burrow? Oh yeah, absolutely. He doesn't flinch. You got to remember, both of these times we played them, we were up.
Right.
First time we played them, the score was 21-3.
And I can't imagine going into KC at that time of the year and winning that game like he did.
And then the championship game, I want to say we were up 24-3, 21-3, something like that.
Yeah.
That's championship composure. You know what I mean?
Tell me about Mahomes. what it's like to be his teammate and see him in practice every day.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good dude, man. He's a good kid. He's still young, and he's kind of still, figuring it out. You know what I mean? But, he's another one, man, that in my opinion, has the mental makeup, you know what I mean, to kind of, make the wrong things right. You know what I mean? He can even elevate the play of certain players, and I don't think everybody has that in them, you know what I mean? But for him to be that young man, that composed, obviously he's decorated, you know what I mean? But and you got to give credit to Coach Reed and them, just me being around them, like some of the best coaches I've ever been around, just mentally, that they're going to be prepared, you know what I mean? And so he takes like full advantage of that, man.
What was it like playing on a defense that had Matt House as a defensive coach on it? I know he's a linebackers coach, and now he's calling the plays here at LSU. You're around LSU's football team here today and through the week, and we'll get to that. But House, what do you expect from him?
Oh, man. So let me tell you, I caught maybe, I want to say I maybe had 14, 15 intercepts the last, let's say, 2-3 years. I probably say 10 of those interceptions have came on first and second down.
Wow.
So I say that to say this. Coach House was our first, second down drop back. He was like the guy that comes up in front of the room. He gives you the notes, right? Like Wednesday, this team likes to run this route, first and second down. But if you're paying attention, and if you're attentive, like, I think you can really capitalize on it. 'Cause
he's giving you the answers to the test.
Exactly. So, I like to tell people, and most people don't know this, but like I said, those 10 interceptions that I caught on first and second down, that had really nothing to do with me. I was just happened to be listening to Coach House and just understanding what the team wants. And you know what I mean? So he's one of those dudes, though. Like, he's going to give you, like, golden nuggets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, first down, this is what they like. Second down, this is the concept.
Right.
I don't care how they break the huddle. This is the concept.
Right.
And if you could understand that, like, he's one of those coaches, man. He'll get through to you. For sure.
I love to see that LSU has brought you back today. You have been around the team already this morning and will be throughout the week. What are your first impressions of Brian Kelly and where the program is right now?
Yeah, I mean, my first impressions of him was a good one, honestly. I think he has a real plan. I think everything he does is from top to bottom. That's just me talking with him for an hour or so, seeing his scheme, seeing his plan, seeing how he handles guys as far as creating leaders. Like, he showed me this board. And, it's like 12 guys up there, and, he pick a leader, maybe it's, the tight end Beck, or, maybe it's Butte. But all these guys have teams. And so there's other players on their team. And so, just him being able to kind of create that competition, outside of the practice field, I think that's going to bring that team, closer. So, but that's just one of the things that, he showed me. But, I think he has a great plan. I'm ready to see it kind of come to light.
How gratifying was it? Maybe gratification's not the right word. What was the feeling that you got when you were able to come back to Baton Rouge, to LSU, and give them the amount of money that you were able to donate to the program and have your name on the Players Lounge that will live forever?
Yeah, I mean, like, first and foremost, man, I don't think I can do none of this without God. You know what I mean? And then good people, too, like people that pray for you, people that push you along the way, people that support you, you know what I mean, through thick and thin, you know what I mean? And for me to be able to come back, 5-6 years later and to kind of give, LSU that blessing, it was more so of a thank you to them too, versus kind of me reminding them where I'm at in my life. And, like, it was more so a thank you too, because not everybody had the opportunity I had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody wasn't, raised by Patrick Peterson.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, everybody wasn't the team favorite, the city's favorite, the state favorite. So, like, for me, I got a lot of grateful, like, memories, when I think about Baton Rouge, when I think about LSU. And but that was, like, more so of a thank you to LSU, to the people of LSU, to really the state of LSU, because I think without them, like, I don't think the world would really know the Badger.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because most coaches were scared. Like, put me on the field with Patrick Peterson and Mo Claiborne, it's like, why would you put him out there? So for them to give me that opportunity,
the best one out there. What do you want me to tell you?
Team coach.
To really show the world, like, hey, man, I could play football on the same level as some of the best. Like, they gave me the opportunity.
Frank Wilson, what's he mean to you?
He's one of those people, that really gave me the opportunity. I remember going to the Tennessee camp.
Oh, this is a great story.
And I had locked everybody up. Yeah. Like, literally, I was licking my chops, and I'm like, yo.
Jarvis and Odell are there, right?
Everybody was there. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, all y'all get in line. Like, everybody, come on. I'm going to go
Get back in line.
I'm going to go rep after rep. And then it really kind of turned into a show where none of the DBs wanted to go.
Yeah.
None of the receivers wanted to go. It was literally, then it turned to me and Jarvis.
Right.
Just one-on-one. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, he was one of those people, man, that was really, telling people, hey, man, this kid going to be special. And, he stuck by his word because when he was in Tennessee, he wanted to offer me.
Yeah.
And Monty Kiffin at the time, he ran like this cover 2 scheme where the nickels aren't that important. Safeties, you can really put anybody at safety because all they're going to do is be standing 20 yards back and they can break left or right.
Just don't get beat deep.
The most important position is middle linebacker and corners, right? Like those guys got to be able to play. And I think in Monty's mind, I don't think he saw me as a cover 2 corner. You know what I mean? So that's why I think he didn't offer me. You know what I mean? But once Frank came to LSU, man,
it was over.
Yeah,
it was over.
Being able to come to that camp too.
Yeah,
that was big for me. Yeah.
Tyrann Mathieu DM'd me on September 21st at 3:31 and said, "Hey man, appreciate all the love you show me. I hope to be the head coach of LSU one day. I plan on winning 10 championships and saving a bunch of young men's lives. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. One love."
Yeah.
When I read that, I had to take a break because I didn't know if I could read it on the air because it was something. Then you and I kind of talked about it, and I saw that you put it out there. That's incredible to even think about, to even fathom. But then you see you and you talk, and it's real. That's what you want to do.
Absolutely.
When did that start?
I'd probably say, really early on into my NFL career. You know what I mean? And when you kind of start, especially I had some injuries early on too.
Oh, so you started thinking about it.
So you got to kind of think about, oh man, what am I going to do after the ball? I can't do this forever. Like both of my knees are banged up. Like it's a blessing I'm still playing today.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? At the level I'm playing at. And, yeah, man. So you kind of think about, what it is that you, or who you see yourself as in 10 years. And, for me, I see myself as, some of the same men that helped me and saved me. And, most of those men were coaches. You know what I mean? Whether it's my high school coach, Coach Lee, who's at Southeastern right now. He was one of the most important figures in my life, like at the time, and because I was an offensive guy before,
right.
And then my sophomore year in high schoe, something happened with me and the offensive coordinator, and I ended up on defense, and I just fell in love with playing cornerback, and I think Coach Lee got he played a big role in that.
That's unreal, man.
Yeah.
That is an amazing story. When you think of coaching, what do you? Because to me, it's much more about the lives that you would affect, much than teaching them. I think the football stuff is easy for you, right? I mean, you can teach people how to play football.
Yeah.
You can. What you're looking to do is mold young men.
Oh yeah.
How did you get to that process? How did you get to that point?
I think a big part of because I think I've been a team leader now for a long time.
Sure.
I've been a team captain. I've been like an extension of coaches. You know what I mean? And what I've realized in that time period, is really about managing people. Yeah,
absolutely.
And expectations and emotions, and if you can tell a guy the right thing, you won't change it, but you will get him to look at it a lot differently. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so for me, whether that be you talking to a second string guy who thinks he can start, vice versa, a starter that's now demoted, if you could just reach these people on a real level, you know what I mean?
Level,
you can, I feel like you can be an effective leader, and
Deion's doing it at Jackson State.
Absolutely, yeah, he's doing a hell of a job. So I actually, when I went down there to his camp, this past summer, man, I took my kids out there and it was real. You could see it, man. You could see everybody buying into it. It's a beautiful thing.
What's been a dad taught you?
Oh man, patience. Right. First and foremost, but love, man. Especially my daughter. My daughter is 2 years old.
Yeah,
now,
you can see that on social media.
And she'll
be driving a Bentley at 10.
Yeah, man. She's like the light of my world, man.
Right.
Everything I've ever prayed for, asked for, anything that was ever meaningful. she reflects that for me, man. So it's just teaching me love, man, and patience, and because I didn't have the life that they have.
Yeah.
2 parents and big house, big yard, and vacations, and I didn't have that. So for me to be able to like give my kids all that, like that's what's up.
Proud of you, bro.
Appreciate it, man.
I'm happy for you, man.
Thank
That's
you.
so good.
Appreciate that.
What is free agency? What is this part? It's different for you, right?
Yeah, so this is like my 3rd time.
Right. But you hadn't stayed this long.
No, I haven't stayed this
Right.
long. I'm really just kind of taking it easy. Like I said, just kind of enjoying the time with family and my fiance. You know what I mean? Because like I'm a real football dude, so it's like once I know where I'm playing and once I know where I'm going, it's over. Like you can catch me on the flip side.
Yeah.
I'm about to put my helmet on. I need my playbook. Send me the iPad.
Right.
So I can get to work, you know what I mean? So, just being able to have this time with family, though, it's cool, but I still try to enjoy the process. It's still cool talking to all coaches, the different coaches, because some of these guys are fans out. Like Mike Tomlin call your phone. You like, hey, this Mike T. Like, so just being able to talk to these guys, man, it's a blessing, too. And even some of these guys, you're able to kind of get certain experiences from them, and some of these men are open when they call you, so it's good, man.
If you Google Tyrann Mathieu's name right now, it seems like there's an article on 32 teams who want him. I mean, like the headline in Pittsburgh is obsessing over Tyrann Mathieu. Yeah. Indianapolis wants you, Tampa Bay wants you. There's been talk of New Orleans at times. Is there anything specifically that you look for in free agency that makes a team stand out?
Yeah, I just want obviously for me being from a leadership perspective, you want to be a part of a good group of guys. You know what I mean? You want to be able to, work well with these guys. These are guys that you spend a good part of your life with. Once you sign a contract, hours and hours on end. You know what I mean? So you want to be a part of a good group. And then too, I think I've been spoiled. I've always been around guys like Larry Fitzgerald, Patrick Peterson, J.J. Watt. So it's like if you ain't got those guys in the room, I don't know if I fit in the room. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
Obviously you look for that, and then you want to win, man. It's all about being able to compete. Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night, Saturday night, like week 1, Super Bowl. You just want to have a chance to like win the game.
What's the key ingredients in the NFL? Is it a quarterback?
Absolutely, 100%.
It starts there?
It starts there. I'd probably say it starts there, and then eventually at some point it'll end there. I think you need a good defense, and you need a good offensive line, and but I think the quarterback position with where the game is today, it is the most important position on a football, and it's the hardest. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it's the hardest.
You feel New Orleans. You sound New Orleans. You look New Orleans.
Thank you.
People say that New Orleans may be dangerous for you to live.
Yeah.
In free agency, is there truth to that?
No. I don't buy that. I think I've grown, a tremendous bunch. You know what I mean? And what I like to remind people too is that I was never a bad kid. Mm-hmm. I never put my hands on women. I've never done these kind of things. You know what I mean? So I feel like the things that really got me were I wouldn't say a phase, because some of that stuff is real. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like overcoming certain emotions and just attachments and things that have happened to you in the past, but bro.
Give me the West Virginia game on loop all day of his sophomore season.
Absolutely.
Oregon game on loop all day of his sophomore season. The Kentucky scoop and score in the celebration is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
If he scores at West Virginia, he wins the Heisman.
It's the play of the year.
Absolutely.
It's the play of the year.
Inches.
Inches. Replay. Was there replay then? Because he might have.
Well, we don't want replay because of Georgia.
Yes.
SEC championship.
That's right. The interception against Florida was fine. They moved him to cornerback that week after he was playing safety, and he was the national player
Jacoby
of the
Brissett.
week in that game. Is there a moment that stands out for you? I'm sure you've been asked this 100 times, but people within our chat are wondering if there's a moment that within the 2 seasons that you were at LSU. I think his North Carolina game, the first game he ever played, he had 2 sack fumbles coming off the edge where people are like,
who's
14?
Who
the fuck is 14, man?
I thought
the strip fumble in the swamp at wearing 14 as a freshman on that play you made.
I thought the North Carolina game.
Yeah.
Because like that was the first time I was on national TV.
Yeah. Wow.
I want to say that was a Chick-fil-A bowl.
Yeah, I think it was Brent Musburger.
That was my first time on TV, so I was already kind of amped up for that game. But then too, I thought that game I kind of showed my athletic ability a little bit. Obviously being able to blitz and cover, and even on punt, one of Pat punt return touchdowns. Like I like air hold a dude.
Yeah.
So like I thought I showed my physicality. I thought I showed it all. Like that game. You know what I mean? Being able to tackle in space, all those things. Yeah.
So what's this week look like for you now that you're in Baton Rouge? For a while, I know that LSU has you spending some time around the football program, but how do you handle trip homes now? I'd imagine that you can't go out into public without being bombarded.
Nah, man, but it's cool. Like I said, kind of going back to what I was speaking of earlier, was, when you're around people that support you, and I feel like a lot of people in Louisiana, most people for certain, they know my story, right? Like they know like where I started and they know where I'm at now, and like I think that like level of like support and awareness like for other people, like everybody's constantly pushing me along and supporting me.
Sure.
So I don't feel like I'm in those situations like I felt when I was 18, 19. I feel like for the most part a lot of people are taking care of me, you know what I mean?
Sure.
They support me in the right way. They're not trying to be baggage or anything like that, you know what I mean? So it's always a blessing when I come back home.
What was that like, the relationship with Jordan?
That's
signing
cool.
on with him?
Yeah, it was crazy, man, because I always wanted to sign with him.
I can imagine, yeah.
And then playing in Arizona for 5 years, man, we would play Seattle twice a year. And that was back when the Legion and the Boom, all them boys. So I would always be on the field just watching those dudes, the way they communicate. And every time I would watch them, Earl Thomas' shoes would always catch my eye.
Wow.
And he was sponsored by Jordan. I was like, yo, like, I already thought I was better than him.
What I got to do?
As a safety, you know what I mean? Like, he could play the post.
Somebody recognizes.
Yeah, he could play the post better than me, but I thought I was better, like, all around. But anyway, though, his shoes used to always catch my eye. And I'm like, yo, what are those? Then I found out he was sponsored by Jordan. And I was like, ever since that moment, I was like, yo, I got to get a Jordan contract. And so when my Nike deal expired, Nike didn't want to let me go. But like they didn't want to pay me either. So
right.
So
Don't work like that.
Right. So it was like, what's the best, next, situation? And it was like Jordan, because I could still stay with Nike, but not be a part of it. And so
I love the gold with the red jump man that you wear, like yellow with the gold jump man.
Yeah, that's probably most fans. That's probably favorite.
That's a good look right there. What's the best team you've ever played on?
The best team.
He's got heat on right now.
Oh, man, the best team I've played on. I want to say that 2011 team, man. Wow. Like, if I can just put them all together, like, we were talented, man.
Bro, y'all were so good.
We were so talented,
That defensive backfield was just – that Alabama game. Even
our skill positions, though, I know offenses. I mean, I know quarterback is always kind of like the, the topic or what we always talk about. But I feel like every other position we've had on that team, it was a legit dude, playing. Yeah, I thought that was like the best team I've been a part of.
How good was that defensive backfield? I mean, Sports Science did a feature on you guys where y'all could cover every blade of grass. When just because of the speed and length y'all had, but being a part of that and probably being the face of that team, how good was that defensive backfield?
I mean, we were elite. I remember going back in the summer because we would do like 7-on-7s and the coaches couldn't be out there. You know what I mean? So Patrick Peterson was like running the 7-on-7 and like. That was some of the best, moments, I've had, just like being on the field with those guys in that moment, like talking about competition level through the roof. Oof. Like I remember Odell just competing with me, he was a freshman, but that was like the standard. That's how we got better. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, I'm hoping these guys today can kind of go back to that, where they compete against each other, and then that's how you take your game to another level.
The LSU reputation, the LSU family in the league, you can see the pride. You guys are everywhere, man. I mean, what is it like being a part of that fraternity?
It's cool, man, because I think for the most part I think we all kind of have the same experience in the sense that, like, we really understand what LSU done for us. You know what I mean? And like the platform and like it has given us. You know what I mean? Like, because most guys around the country, they want to be an LSU player. for the most part. They feel like we're always on TV, and they like our uniforms, and they like our mascot, and they like our stadium. You know what I mean?
right.
So you could kind of feel that around the league, and so just being one of the guys that experienced that, man. Like, yeah, I think you realize early on it's special, man. You know what I mean? Being a part of Death Valley.
45 minutes. Feels like it was 2 minutes going by with the best of all time. In my opinion, he needs his name, his number put on the LSU Tiger Stadium facade just to be remembered for the 2 seasons that he spent here. But as he said, he would love to come back and be the head coach here, which I think would be incredible just for the state, the program, and the city. Ty, thank you, bro.
Oh, man.
Love you, man.
Brother. Yes, sir. Love
Thank you.
too, man.
It's all
Appreciate
good,
you.
man.
Yes, sir.
Great to see you. Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, the best to ever do it. Wrapping up a special edition of the Jordy Culotta Show. Thank him for stopping by. All of the love inside of the chat, what it was, how special it was to watch you play, and a lot of thanks from fans out there that gets a chance to still watch you play and representing LSU and Louisiana forever. Tyrann Mathieu, number 7 in your hearts, number 1 in your programs. The best to ever do it, the Honey Badger, signing off here on this special edition of the Jordy Culotta Show.